Not even going to do an intro, everyone, because we have Hayley back on. After our last conversation, I told her, like, you need to come back on because having someone as opus and having someone as honest and upfront as she was just an absolute delight. So I was like, okay, we got to talk to her more. She's wearing her Kansas City gear because this is the day of the AFC
Amazing.
Championship. So either way, she'll be happy or sad
Please
when this
love
gets
me
released.
still.
But yeah, so she's become one of them. And like I told her before, we talked about the NFL for like
Uh,
5 minutes before we started recording this. Just we talked like 15 minutes, told him five it was the NFL, and I'm glad that the Chiefs, because they were in the bottom for like 20 years and they finally got back and they're now the team to beat. So it's good for them, and I'm glad that they were able to do that. So we're gonna get that out of the way then, because God forbid, being a Vikings fan, we talked about that for a little bit as
it's
well. They're
all
just an
right.
absolute pit of misery. But yeah, Haley, it's been a month. Not much has really changed, but anything new and interesting happened to you so far?
Not really. It's kind of all run of the mill, same thing, doing some more photo shoots, doing, interviews and stuff like that, which has been super fun. So, but life still goes on, you work and you do all the same stuff, but I've been having a blast doing it.
Well, most people when they do photo shoots, they do it like right after the show, and you're doing it sometimes like a month after. Is it
I
stressful at all
am.
for you to like keep up that shape to be presentable for a photo shoot, even that long of a time period in between a show?
So I would say, like, I was kind of like a little stressed about that. I'm not gonna lie, like, because you do have like a certain image to uphold in a way, and but at the same time, like I've gotten good feedback from people saying, "Hey, like I want to see more off-season looks," and I do, just kind of remembering what I've seen in the past too from female bodybuilders in these divisions. You just don't see a whole lot of off-season updates, or you just see a lot of regurgitated stage pictures, which I do love. I love seeing that stuff, and I still have some myself, but I do want to post more off-season and really some of the stuff that you guys have seen, like that's only about a week old. Like it's really not, we're not really that far removed from stage look. I don't have the tan obviously anymore or anything like that, but we're still within that like 10 pound from stage weight. So nothing crazy. I guess people are maybe more used to seeing girls, I hate to use the word blow up, but blow up maybe a little faster. So we're trying to keep that in check, but I'm still tapering, like I'm still getting into my new routine. I'm getting labs done here at the beginning of the month. So like we're still kind of segueing out from stage stuff, kind of like now getting into a true off season.
So I've never really breached this topic too much, but what really do you do when you get a lab? Like, what's that whole process? Because we've had people mention it, but I just haven't really thought to ask them. Like, hey, what does that all entail? What's the process?
So yeah, a lot of it is just kind of what our team wants lab value wise to look at. We get a link sent over. For me, I don't have any of these specific labs really here in Kansas City. So I just get my lab form. It's already signed off by people on our team, people that we have medically associated with us, which is super nice to have because they do have a lot of knowledge. And then I just take it into like a lab core, which my lab cores are like in our Walgreens. So you can like walk in there. And I know that sounds a little sketchy, and I was a little, but I've talked to the girls there. They're good. They stick you one time, and they get it one and done, and that sends off, and you get the lab values back via email, I think, and then I usually just forward them over, and I can look at it myself, obviously, and analyze where I want to. But if coach is happy, I'm happy. But it's usually really simple. It's really simple. I think everybody should be getting lab values done in the sport, some way, shape, or form. It's basically a basic metabolic panel, but with extra values that we're kind of looking at hormone wise.
How long in your experience does it normally take for your hormones to get back to somewhat of a normal level after a competitive season?
Oh, I'm not gonna lie, like this is probably my first time doing like a true reverse and like a true, hey, I'm gonna monitor that stuff for you. uh, I would say my stuff wasn't janky. Like we didn't have a lot of like, we need to fix this before we start prep for you. If anything, like my testosterone, I think, was like a little low. So that was, a surprise to me. At least for like an athletic female, like you want to have a value in a certain range. Everything else looked good. So we kind of segued right into like TRT and then also just like going into prep because I had labs done, I think, December of last year. So that was all before I kind of started working with him. And then I started that whole season, I would say in January, probably didn't really start prep till like summertime. So like July. But, this would be my first now follow up from all that. All my other coaches, we didn't monitor that kind of stuff,
Well,
which is kind of common, unfortunately.
yeah. Well, I know the answer, but I'm just gonna pretend that I'm like a moronic 5-year-old, which I really honestly am deep down. But explain to people because like there'll be the jokes out there where she's like, "Oh, she says her test was low. That's not what her voice sounds like," or they'll say something really stupid like that. So
Yeah.
explain to the general public how your test can be low even though you have been on a cycle of stuff that might be test because people just don't understand that. Like, how does it get low then from that?
So yeah, like addressed it kind of last time that I do have residual effects from just like taking the SARMs back in the day, and that is truly what this stuff is from. It's nothing that like my current team has had a hand in doing, so I never want to like make it sound like, hey, this season, like this is what happened to me. I sounded like this 100% prior to working with everyone that I'm working with now. And I did have a deeper voice ahead of that. You just have to take my word for it. Starting from that, it has obviously changed since birth, since a teenager and going through puberty. But like just because you have some of those telltale signs does not mean your testosterone is incredibly high. And there also is a different value set that you're looking at versus like a normal female and then like an athletic female, right? So, not saying the value's vastly different, but there is a different value range that we're looking at. It's kind of like men, just to like, because it's easier to talk about testosterone when it comes to men. There's a value that your doctors are currently looking at, but that value that's the average right now that they're looking at, like for you per se, if you went in, is an average of the
First
men
of all, you
nowadays.
can't grow a beard like this in your 30s if you don't have some high tea, everyone. That's all I'm going to say. So just leaving that out
Sorry about
there.
the fireworks.
Hey, that's it's celebrating my great epicness right here. Look, I mean, look at this
You're
beard,
right.
everyone.
You're
So,
right. So, like, that value that we're looking at now is based on the average male today. Now, up to you whether you're gonna think that's a good value that we should be going off of, or if that's still a low value, with modern medicine. So even doctors are very smart; they know what they're doing, but there's still there's still variations here. There's still interpretations. Other doctors are gonna think certain things. Other people in sports are gonna think certain things. Like so, just because someone has certain, you know, indicators of something does not mean that that's the case. Because I thought the same thing too. I'm not gonna lie. And then I saw my values and I was like, oh, interesting.
well, and I think part of the reason too is that people don't realize that when you add the artificial stuff, it decreases your natural production of it. So that's why when you go off of it, that's why your stuff is lower a lot of the times, especially for men at least. When they're, if they take a
Yes,
cycle of, testosterone and then all of a sudden their natural test is not going to produce as much because their body thinks, oh, we have enough already, so we're just going to stop
correct.
producing it. So that's what I was trying to ask right there. I didn't know if you really got the question, but no, that's
Oh,
the reason
sorry.
why
I
it's low.
probably did like interpret it a
No,
little
no, no,
weird,
no, no.
but
I didn't mean it like, oh yeah, her voice, like she must be on so much. I meant like people don't understand that like if you've done a cycle of tests that like how your natural testosterone might be lower, but it's because the body thinks that like, oh hey, we've already
correct.
produced
It
enough.
already
So
thinks, hey, we're getting it from somewhere. I don't need
yeah,
to produce that
yeah,
to dumb it down. Like, so therefore, why would I keep producing more?
yeah.
And so then you stop taking that stuff. It's like, well, and your body's like, well, shoot, like we were getting it from somewhere else. Like I don't need to make it. It's going to come back. So,
Can I just say
you
how
know,
shocked I was when I learned that SARMs you can just buy them in pharmacies. Like you can just they're just stuff that
yes,
you can buy. I didn't realize that until I talked to you. I sent our podcast to another guest and she was like, "Oh yeah, we sell that stuff as our at our nutrition shop." And I was like, "Wait, what?
yes,
You can buy that legally?" So that was a
uh-huh.
shock to me where I was like, "Wait, they don't have like legislation against that when you can have effects that are just as bad as most other stuff, but you can just go and buy." That was shocking to me.
Well, and that's why I think people think it's no big deal. And that's the only reason I even want to bring it up when it comes to like stuff like that. Cause to me, there's still a drug, right? But oh, I can buy it at NutriShop or I can buy it. I don't think really any of my shops sell that stuff. They don't back home either. Cause I think it took like one wealthy mother to be like, my son took this and now he has gyno. So off the shelves, right? or maybe they've just relabeled it to be something else, but I just really don't want people taking that. Like, I don't have a problem with a lot of things, but at least don't take that. I know it's very accessible and that's why it's tempting, but that's the one thing I'm like, please don't take
I mean,
it. Just don't take it.
absolutely, and I was just so shocked when I learned how commercially available it was because I was like, yeah, you'd think with everything else that's banned that they would have a way to ban that, but it's like, no, you can go buy it at your local nutrition shop, and it's. I mean,
Yeah, and they name it some funny
I got
names
a
and
prank for my girlfriend. Then I might accidentally put some drops in her in her tea or something like that.
yeah.
No,
And like
I'm joking, everyone, but no, I'm just shocked at how commercially available it was. It was.
yeah, and like it's not where I am anymore, so that's why I didn't know if it was like really even pertinent information anymore. But it is something that I think in a way is still out there. I'm sure there's certain strains and certain stuff that is beneficial, but like all the gimmicky ones that got a funny little name to it that are very much trying to be derivatives of real compounds are just not. I just don't want people using those. But obviously, free will, free choice, right? But like that is just not the road I wish girls especially would go down, you know?
As you wean off and go off a cycle, I was just curious, do you feel the effects like mentally? Do you feel maybe a little bit more fatigued, a little more depressed, or is because I've talked to some guys, especially where like they might feel like a little depressed afterward just because they aren't producing as much and they aren't there's plenty of other biological things. But has that been similar for you when you've gone off?
So no, honestly, just I know it's like a big bold statement, no, but I really, like I said, we weren't crazy with it anyways, but females too, we just take different things. It's not like we're taking trend, which is usually the big one that people talk about. I didn't take that.
I've talked to some bikini competitors that took that, so it's out
Yeah,
there.
and so like I 100% understand coming off something like that. Like absolutely. Have I struggled mentally since show? Yeah, absolutely. But I wouldn't say it's derived from drug use. It's more of just like a I knew this coming in that even just I remember arriving in Texas and like as cool as to see your body like get leaner and leaner and like just really come together. In the back of my mind, I already was kind of nervous and thinking, how am I going to get myself out of this? And I knew I wasn't going to be doing it by myself, obviously. Like, I have a whole team for support and like reverse cycling. But I already was so nervous. I was like, how do I go from seeing my body like this to going back to like normal? And like how quickly, because this is my first reverse, right? So I was like, I don't know what's normal. I was like, how quickly should I like get fat again? Like, how long am I going to be vascular? Like, is how long is my face going to look a certain way? Like, like there's certain things that you are going to miss, but you can't hold on to it. And I logically know that, but it's still hard some days to wake up and like some days you look really good. And I'm like, oh yeah, like this still looks great. And then some mornings I wake up, I'm like, I don't want to look at myself. And
That's
I
every
know,
person that's ever lived. I can guarantee you that's me. 3 days a week, I'll be like,
yes,
I look
like all
great, and then the other
seasons,
three, I'll be
right?
like, oh, I look like so bad. Like, why am I even present? There were times I was like, why do I even leave the house? Come on, like, let's.
Yeah, and like honestly, I don't have any good ways of telling people to cope with stuff like that aside from because what I literally do to handle it, I just don't think about it and I just move the hell on. I'm like, okay, we could hyperfixate on this today and just keep staring at yourself in the mirror, like pinching your stomach and like being disappointed. But you know what? Hating my body like that is not getting me anywhere. We're going to wear hoodie and sweats day. We're not going to look at it. You feel fine. You feel great. You can perform in the gym. Like, that's what's important right now. You know, let's just not even focus on that today. I know that maybe just sounds like burying the problem, but
I mean, I know I saw your shoulder pump from like a day or two ago, and you still got it. I mean,
yeah,
that's
and
still there.
like
So it's not like it completely disappears. Yeah.
it doesn't. But it's like body dysmorphia, right?
Oh,
So like some days it feels like it looks really good, and then some days you're like, ugh, like the pump isn't as good, and you're like, oh, now I'm fat. Now I'm fat. But on the offhand, I've had a lot of people ask me, why are you still so lean? Like, why? I was like, I'm really not that lean still. But obviously, like you are seeing a pump picture in the gym, you know, or what have you. And I realize there's a lot of people that I stepped off stage with that are 20, 30 pounds heavier than when they were on stage. And I just don't think that was the road for me to go down. So I think that's also why I've been getting not flack, but a little jab here and there where they're like, "Why do you still look like that?"
Well, I will say it almost feels like talking to a completely different person because your face is a little bit, puffier.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, wow, it just even from like a month, it's amazing how much the body can change in that little span of time.
Yeah, and, like, I think that's one of the quickest things, like, that came back kind of was, like, my face a little bit, and then it was also, like, the last thing too, like, that last month, I was like, "Ooh, wow." But, like, even looking back at pictures, I was like, "My face really don't need to look like that all the time." But also, I didn't realize how chunky my face looked, like, at the beginning of the year last year, so I was like, "I really don't care to be 180 pounds." Like, I feasibly probably only need to get to about 160s, 170s right now. Maybe that heavy in the future, but I don't need to be 180 pounds. Like,
You got to break 220. Come on, if you want to be a bodybuilder, you got to break 220.
and that'd be super cool. Like, if someday
No, don't try it, everyone. Your body will fail you if you do that. Like that's
if someday, like, I in the women's open and, like, my off season are that heavy, that's fine. Like, but being that right now as a woman, like, trust me, I fight that sometimes, not daily, but, like, weekly, where I'm like, "We should just put on a bunch of weight and, like, just be a fucking monster in the gym." Like, but I realize my performance probably isn't gonna be as good. Like, it's really just gonna shoot myself in the foot.
it would be the most uncomfortable thing ever, too. If you were 220 pounds of like
Yes.
half fat, half muscle, then it would just be like
Yeah. It's just
it would be a
not
sight to see. Like I would do it. I would say do it just for the one pick and then then lose it automatically. But like it's yeah, I do not recommend that for
yeah,
anyone.
it's hard. Like, the mental aspect of after stage is really hard, and I think that's kind of why some people I understand why people blow the hell up afterwards because you do fight that almost on a daily basis. Where you're like, oh, I could follow my meal plan and just like follow my reverse, but also I'm not gonna be on stage for another year. Like who cares? Like what's gonna harm with the extra like cookie or two or like going out to eat? I haven't had any outing meals since like New Year's, I believe was my last one. So I haven't like gone out and like had really any dinners with anybody. I've had like little snacks or like a little bit of wine here and there, like, but I really just don't have the desire to do that quite yet. Like I want to do a good reverse chunk where my body's can handle that because I did over like Christmas. I got sick and that kind of freaks me out now. I'm like, I don't want to like throw up. That's gross.
It's my worst. That's my least favorite thing to do, and I've only done it probably about 3 times in my 20s, and each time was just
Thank you. This is my first time in my 20s doing that, and I was like, "This is awful, and I hate it."
well, I've had times, especially after drinking, because I live in the Midwest. Let's be honest, where
Yeah.
I've just been laying in my bed all day and just about to throw up, but then like I force it to not come out,
Yeah,
and then the feeling passes after a couple hours. But like that's where I was at a certain point because that's how much I hated it that I would end up. But the funny thing is, if I just let it come out, I would feel so much better than just three
yeah,
hours just sitting on my couch wanting it not to. But that's just where my mindset is. And you talked about photo shoots, and I just wanted to ask this because you
yeah,
know there are different kinds of photographers. And I'm not going to name names, but like there's some people that everyone's
yes.
like, you got to watch out for that person because they do this
Mhm.
certain thing and everything. So, what do you do to make sure that you don't end up in a situation with someone like that, like a predatory photographer? Because there are them out there. And what advice you have for people just to make sure that they don't get put in a situation like that?
So, yeah, I definitely say ask around. Ask around, that's what I've done with every single one of mine, aside from, like, a few local people that I know, like, I've known them since I've been here, and they're sweet guys and sweet people. I don't feel icky about working with them at all. Now, as far as, like, you're gonna travel a few hours, go work with so and so, or what have you, I'm asking around. I'm putting some feelers out, like, especially if it's like a bigger person in the industry that has worked with lots of people and they have a larger following. There's so many people you can ask and be like, "Hey, did you feel a little icky?" Like, was it kind of weird? And given I haven't done anything aside from just gym photo shoots right now, I haven't done any like lifestyle. Is that like maybe the right term? Yeah, lifestyle or like boudoir type stuff is a good term for that. I'm not disinterested in it. I just don't want it to give the wrong message. And I've done stuff like that in the past. but I realized too, kind of with where I'm at, I was like, I don't want it to look a little like I'm doing an OnlyFans account or something. I still want to keep the sport in a certain spot, and that's not talking smack on girls who do make money that way because you got to make your bag somehow.
We've
I
talked
know
about
there's
this before, everyone. We both don't have a problem with people making money. It's just that we want to make
I
sure that
really
they
don't.
do it. We want to make sure that, first of all, they do it in the right way and it's not them being taken advantage of. And when we say the right way, that's
Yes.
what we mean. Like, we don't want some guy just being a predator on them. And because I've heard too many stories where I can't at least try to bring that knowledge out there of like, people, watch out for these and make sure that you know ahead of time, like, what you're getting into.
Yes, and like 100%, there's a lot of girls that market themselves and they are taking these photos themselves. They are the ones pushing that content themselves. They are choosing to where they know exactly what they're doing and power to them. I don't think I feel comfortable doing that, at least not in this phase of my life right now. But once again, like I don't even want to say like I would never do that because maybe I would in the future. And I think muscle is beautiful. I think those women are beautiful. So by all means, if they want to put that stuff on the internet, that's fine. I really do. I don't care at all.
So you're telling me you're backing out of the lingerie shoot that we had planned to do right after this? Come on,
Yeah,
Haley.
it's a bummer. It's a bummer.
Wasted all my time for nothing, everyone.
Oh, I know. I
That's
just
it.
don't know
Podcast
where.
over, everyone. That's it. Screw this. No. Some people literally, one guy emailed me and said that's the whole theory is that I would put so much of my time in this just to start becoming a photographer. And I was like, buddy, buddy. It's
And
like,
there's a lot of people that do. I'm sure there's a
oh,
lot of
there is
men
ones.
that.
But like, after listening to me and realizing that, like, I would much rather like have a photo shoot with Kristen Bell personally or something like not, no, it's nothing against that, but it's
Yeah,
like, and first of all, I'm not into photography. I'm not good at taking photos. I literally, yeah, it's,
it's a skill. It is a
oh,
skill,
absolutely.
and I actually really love photography and I like kind of get into it. Like I post, like little photo dumps of like just random photos.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
I'll do like
think
sunrise
photography
photos
is
and
so
birds
fun.
photos and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm into that stuff. But like, yeah, when it comes to
Hmm.
people, and plus, I have this thing in me where I could never really photograph another person because if they didn't like it, that would kill me. So like, if I didn't do like, if they told me like, oh, it's not good, like I just couldn't deal with that. So like, even with this podcast when it gets released, and I've had only like two times where someone said like, oh, it could have been better, and I was like, well, it's free, so I at least say that. But like, if it was paid and then someone didn't like it,
It's free.
well, no, that's what I tell them. I was like, well,
You're
I
right
mean,
though.
it's free. I mean, it's like, it's not like you paid me $100 for it. So like, if they did pay me and then they said wouldn't, then I would feel terrible because, well, I feel terrible enough. But it's like, you get what I mean. Where it's like when you're paid for something and then if you don't meet expectations, then you might be like, oh, okay, this is bad now because I feel
Correct.
guilty for taking their money. Then, but that's why I could never do like a photo shoot thing myself. Then, once money gets involved with this, that's why I've never had money involved in this podcast because just with my brain, like I couldn't handle someone saying like I didn't like the work you did and you paid me like $100 for the podcast. So I was, yeah, that's just me
That's
personally.
how services work. Like I 100% realize that, but like, and there's a lot of money in photography. There really is. Like, I wish I could pick it up. Like the cameras are also very expensive. You looked at the price of like a lens because like my stepmom's very into photography, and I think one Christmas she asked for like one of the lenses to go on a camera, and it was like $4,000. I was like, "Excuse me, for a lens?" I was like, "What does it do?" Like, but some people that's like their hobby, their love, and like just like I love bodybuilding, they love photography, and I think it's wonderful. I would rather just pay you some money to take some cool photos, and I don't need to buy that equipment because it's expensive.
If you weren't bodybuilding, what do you think would be your other hobby that you'd be doing?
So I still do have like hobbies that I love outside of bodybuilding that I try to kind of post a little bit about because I realize after talking to people, they think it's interesting. So I am trying to like post a little bit more about it, but I really genuinely think like even career wise, I probably would be like a tattoo artist or something like that. Maybe that's super random and like from left field, but I love art. Like I love art just really in any form. But once again, kind of like back to taking money, I was like, I just don't right now, I think, have it in me to take money for my work, even though art is very subjective and like could be as fluid or as whatever you want it to be. But also like putting it on someone's skin forever.
I mean,
It's scary.
I could take a dump on a piece of paper and some person might want to pay $1 million for it. That's art for you, but
Precisely. And art so is like that. and I don't do that kind of art. Like I do like things to look very nice, and but I'm experimenting with that still. It's still kind of something I'm interested in, even like exploring like an apprenticeship and doing that. But I'm also like, maybe I'm too old to do that.
Nah, you're
And
never too old. Well,
I
I'm
know.
even thinking about going back into technical college. I already have my 4-year degree, but going to a tech school to become an electrician. So I've been thinking about that, and I'm 30, so it's you're never too old. But
I know. And I hear people like say that. And I'm like, well, yeah, you're not too old, but for some reason, me, I'm like, "Ugh, you're too old to like go get an apprenticeship. And sometimes I just get so overwhelmed with the thought of like, how do I even start? And I'm just like, okay, I'm just not even gonna start.
I have yet to have someone explain to me how some of these artworks are so valuable. Like the ones that you look at and you're like, a kindergartner could draw that if they wanted to, and that person's selling it for like
Yeah.
millions of dollars. I don't understand. Are any of those drawings back there yours?
So yeah, they are.
Okay.
Um, just the one that I guess the two ladies.
Yep.
I don't know how good the quality is,
No,
but
you
like
can see you can see a lot of them from here. Yeah.
the pencil girls are my two girls that I've done. Everything else is like thrifted artwork, magazines from old Playboy stuff or whatever in the past. I love stuff like that. I love pinup and like ironically a lot of women. I do a lot of girl art. And I think that's kind of why people also thought I was like swung that way a little bit.
Well, let's be honest. The female form is so much more appealing to draw than the male form. So let's just get that out
Right?
of the
I
way
was
right
like,
there.
women are beautiful. And I was like, I just love the different aesthetics you can paint with women, and women are just hot. Like,
Yeah. Have you ever
so I
thought
do.
about
I have
doing
a
a
bunch of
self
women on my
portrait, like when
walls.
you're all like your next prep, like doing a self portrait where you take a photo of yourself and then you draw the photo?
Yeah, I was like, will people think I'm arrogant if I do that? I don't know. But
You add like slightly bigger arms and legs just
yeah,
for
just
your
like
own
make her
ego.
just a
Just
little
a
bit like
tiny bit big,
bigger.
like
I'm
it's
gonna give
not
myself some implants
like
too
yeah,
on
like
that.
people like a little bit bigger, so the most people couldn't tell, but like you deep down know it's like yeah, I'm a little bit, that's the
Yeah.
way you gotta do
I
it.
mean, that's I see that stuff on Instagram. There's certain accounts that like take a picture of a normal girls like beef them up. It's kind of funny.
I
I'm
ne-
not gonna lie.
I never thought I would talk about this live on the show, but there are people. So like my thumbnails that I release, sometimes I'll release like a 10-second clip of them, like them doing like a front double bicep. People have taken those clips and morphed celebrities' faces on them.
I'm not surprised.
So one of them was Taylor Swift, another one was like Jennifer Aniston. So like they've morphed the faces on them, and they look convincing. But I'm just like, dude, put that creativity in something that can make you money. If like you're that good at that you can morph a face like that, it's like
Yeah, like
I
Photoshop my
don't want to say
faces.
you're wasting it with my stuff, but like you kind of are. Like do that for make money for that, dude. But like I was upset at first, but then at the other time I was like, hey, it's create. If they that means at least someone's watching it. So if they take your stuff, then I mean it's yeah.
Yeah, wherever you seek or wherever you find inspiration, I guess. Stuff like that is kind of cool. Or people
Great.
make like
Now that I brought that up,
edits.
someone's gonna mop your face probably in in this record. I challenge people to do that if you want to. Come up with the most clever one. Obviously, like don't do a dude or anything like that because that's just disrespect. But like, come up with a good because I can tell someone would probably do like the Hulk or something like that, and just people are so fucking stupid.
Honestly, I'm surprised I haven't seen stuff like that now that you bring that up. Like people taking women bodybuilders and like not morphing the bodies, just like morphing our faces into like men.
Well, they do the opposite now because like there's another account that I'm not even gonna mention it because I don't like it and I don't want to give it props, but like they literally just take male bodybuilders' bodies and just add female faces to it and like make like a 5-second clip. And I was like,
Crazy.
but for me, it's like, and not to get too political, but at that point, I was like, are you just gonna come out of the closet at that point? Like, if you're just morphing guys' bodies onto female heads, I'm not saying that if you like female, but I'm saying, but if you do it with male bodies,
No.
then that's a different story. Where it's like, if it's clearly using Arnold's body and then putting like a male, it's like, come on, guys. So that's my
Yeah,
little two
people say the
cents.
same thing about, women in the sport, how we like, not all of us, but we like men who are also like very much in the sport. Cause I've had like coworkers ask me about that. They're like, why do you like men that look like that? And I was like, cause I do. Or they'll say that like, oh, it's too big. And I was like, There's no too big for me." Like,
Let's be honest, you don't want to go out with a skinny twig because that's just you're gonna have to do
no,
everything.
like it looks weird and I feel not feminine with that, but I also realize like if I'm saying that right now and I end up with like a really skinny, like tall guy, mind your business. Mind your business.
Notice she said tall, everyone. I think that's when we can excuse it. Like if it's a tall guy, that's why I love being 6'3" because that's an excuse for a lot of things right there. I can have some flaws, and my fiance looked at that and she said, you know what, but he's tall. So
But like at the end of the day, like the older I get to, like I have these conversations with my girlfriends all the time, like yes, the physical stuff is very important. Like I still want to think they're attractive in a sense, but like the older you get, the more important really is that these people are just decent human beings.
Okay, we're gonna have like one girl talk question just because I thought of it. What part of the male body are you most attracted to?
I probably like arms and shoulders.
Yeah.
And mostly just because that's like the easily like seen thing, right? But I will say, having big arms and like no back, super strange looking because it happens.
I'm the opposite. Where my back, I've made the joke like look like I could compete just with this. It's just been a natural thing for me, but my arms, yeah, I need to work on them. But like my back, I could do like right now, and it would look. I mean, obviously it's not bodybuilder quality, but like it's much bigger than it should be for. Yeah, it's just always been like that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's
for
a
me, it's
normal
the
thing.
sides. For me, it's the hips of a woman is my favorite. Like the right below.
Yeah,
That's the go to area right there. But and yeah. So that's our little girl
different
talk
strokes
moment
for
for
different
everyone.
folks.
Yeah,
Different
absolutely.
strokes for different folks. Everybody's got different taste, and that's the beauty of
I know
literally
one
all of
guy.
this,
I know
right?
one guy that's really into forearms, and that was weird at first. But I was like, hey, if you're into it, you're into
Yeah.
it. I was like, where are you gonna find a girl with nice forearms? Really, like
Yeah,
they're
and
not
also,
growing on
like, what
trees.
is the definition of nice forearms? Like, are you talking muscular,
Yeah,
like,
do you want them where like they grind you up into a pulp, or do you want it where they're just like a
or
massage
is it, like,
person's?
cute, dainty, like
I think for them it was like more of a masseuse kind of like forearms, where like they're strong, they're not like super defined, but like they're just
okay,
hardy. Again, different strokes for different folks. Everyone wants everything different out there, and that's one thing that I've come to learn
that's
is
the best
yeah.
part, though, like, there's usually somebody out there that fits that niche for you. I don't have to understand it. If you like it, it really doesn't affect me, so if you like it, by all means, buddy, go right ahead.
I have the same thing, but like if you say something like forearms, I gotta at least ask a question, like why, like
Oh, I do
just you
like
have
to
to
ask follow-up
yeah you
questions.
gotta at least it's not like we're again I accept it, but it's like I do kind of like want to know the backstory of it too, where it's like
Makes
if
you
it's
all
something like
nosy.
that, or if you say like oh I like boobs or I like butt, then I'm like okay yeah duh, but
I
then
get it. I
if you say something
understand.
like forearms or something like that, then you gotta ask a follow up and be like what, like just making sure. Again, good for you. I have no judgment, but I'm just curious like why, because that's not an answer that I
Yeah.
not an answer that I hear
I
a
try
lot of
not to
time.
deep dive it too much because sometimes, like, that hole's a weird hole to go down.
Mhm. Do you ever get hit on when you're in the gym?
Honestly, no. No. Like, I think most of it's just because I stay covered up. I wear a hoodie and sweatpants, like, and that's not even just something I do for, like, Instagram where you see me training like that. I genuinely train like that. I've trained like that probably for the past 3 or 4 years, and, like, I was a girl who went through cycles of like clothing aesthetics, right? I was like, well, I like wearing leggings and hoodies. And that was like all I wore, leggings and hoodies. And then sometimes I was like, I'm now a shorts and big t-shirt girl. And I would wear that for months on end. And then somehow I stumbled across the hoodie, big t-shirt, sweatpant, and then I never left it. And I get a lot of flack for it from like guys sometimes where they're like, "Why do you wear that?" And I was like, "Because of weirdos, first of all, and also it's comfy. I don't want to have to worry about what I look like while I'm training. Is like my stomach looks big from that because like I do have to like push against like internal pressure. Like it's not cute to lift certain ways, and I don't want to worry about like what I don't want to cross a mirror and see myself and be like, ew, gross. Like not that I think that about myself, but it's just nice not to worry about that while you're in the gym.
Do you ever see the gym bros that seem to have the most body confidence ever and just wish you had that confidence for one day? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's always the guys too. Like girls, I'm pretty lenient and being like, you know what, girl, like pop your shit. Like
I gotta be honest. When I was in college and I was at my most shredded, it was always cut off t-shirts and like basketball shorts. I was showing
yeah.
off everything. I was peacocking all day long.
Yeah. And like I get it. I see it all the time, especially with like New Year's stuff too. Like I forget that we're at the beginning of a year. So like we have a bunch of new people at the gym and that's cool, fun, awesome. Love it. The only time that it's annoying is if you're like purposely putting a tripod like in the middle of the floor, then you want to flex under a certain light. Like, my guy, I just want to use this cable attachment. There's a posing room. Go pose in the posing room. Like, it's just, I get it if you're getting stuff filmed or you're in there with a photographer. Like, I'm pretty lenient. But when you're very in the way every single day, all the whole time you're there, it's when it becomes a little too much.
Well, I stopped going to commercial gyms like right before that whole like let's vlog everything took off. So like I never really saw it until like I've been starting to go back in the gyms now, and I am shocked at how much it is because like I feel like an old timer then where I was like, I remember a day when no one had tripods and everyone just like got their workout
Yeah,
done.
I
The
remember
only
that.
thing that you might have done was you might have been on your phone texting someone in between sets or something. That's it. But like that's
Yeah. No, I had somebody yesterday, or maybe it was yesterday, asked me if I had a tripod, like, walked up to me and was like, "Hey, do you have a tripod?" I was like, "No." I was like, "Buddy, you know what I do? I take one of these bottles and I put it somewhere and then I found on it."
do you feel overall that social media has been good for bodybuilding or it's been bad? Because I've heard both ways where a lot of people think that like, oh, it's oversaturated things where then everyone wants to be a bodybuilder, but they don't really have the intensity. Like, don't even get me started on the people that do one show and then think that they're a coach. Then because they compete a show. But do you think overall it's been good or has it been more leaning on the it's been bad for the sport?
Overall positive, um, as much as sometimes that's painful to admit. Like, it does still just get the name out there. Like, seldom now do I have somebody walk up to me and ask me and be like, "So, like, what do you do?" Like, they just know, like, it's bodybuilding, and there's usually not a whole lot of questions that are, like, very basic questions anymore. They may ask you like, they know divisions now, like, they know that there's different divisions. They know, "Okay, well, clearly she's not in bikini, like, what division do you compete in?" Like, and it's
First of all, how
cool.
offended would you be if someone thought that you were a bikini
I'd
competitor?
be a little offended. Now, if it's like, "You're so cute, you belong in bikini," like, that's so sweet, thank you so much.
First of all, I think it would be hilarious if they looked at your shoulders and been like, "Are you getting ready for that bikini show?"
And you know what? I probably would be my flabbers would be gasted.
That
I
is
would
how okay, everyone, if she ever annoys you and you work out in her gym, if anyone in her gym is listening, that's how you get to her. Like if she's right before a show or if she's in her just tell her that she's a bikini competitor. That's if she's really annoying you. That's your nuclear bomb that you keep deep down as a last resort insult.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Throw that one out there.
exactly.
It would hurt my feelings a little bit. I'd probably just be silent. I don't think I'd say anything back. I'd be like, "You know what? I gotta get back to work. I gotta get back to work."
And if you say I got to get back to work, then the person can just go clearly. Yeah.
Yeah. You'd be like, "You know what? I'm gonna wear hoodies and sweatpants for life now." For life. But yeah, overall, it's positive. Like, it gets people talking about it again, which is a good segue because I know we talked about this about like the whole fit model division. Like, that is 100%, I think, what the creation of that is for, aside from the money aspect. It's to get more eyes on the sport. It's to make it more mainstream. And so overall, yes, I think that it is probably more positive than negative, but there is always negatives, and I'm not gonna say I love it. I think we just crowned our first like overall winner this past weekend. I saw that this morning and it's painful. That woman is beautiful. I don't want that to get back to her. And it's like, she talking shit on me. It's just not bodybuilding to me, unfortunately.
I'm gonna title this the podcast video now. It's IFBB Pro talks shit about the fitness model division and absolutely hates it. No, I'm joking, everyone. But no, I agree. I think it's like everything where the first product is always never going to be what the ideal what they want. So I think I'd say give them like 2 or 3 years, and then if it's still like that, then maybe have a conversation. But again, like every first year, like if you look at the first ever female bodybuilder, they wouldn't even win a bikini competition now.
No,
Yeah.
no. And like everything takes time to kind of mature and figure out what the standard is. Right now, I think there's been some interviews with some of the guys about what they're looking for. And that's the only things I've seen are little blurbs of people talking about this because I'm not going to lie. I don't sit down and like watch things about the fit model division. But I've heard that we're very particular about the judgment here. Like there's going to be no tie ins, zero. And I didn't even look at the girl who won to see if that all holds true. I've just seen like the photos of her with like, I won, and like that's it. I've just moved on, right? But I've heard, yeah, like no tie ins, no caps, no nothing. Like, okay, like that's, I hope you hold to it then.
Do you ever take the time to at least look back at your photos like when you were first getting started and just appreciate how much of the change you've made? Because I know so many times people
Yeah.
get so wrapped up in the now that they don't ever take a time to just be like, "Hey, I've done this and it's pretty incredible."
Yes. And I did that pretty recent. I posted stuff about that just because I have a lot of new eyes and ears, like kind of looking at my stuff. And I don't ever want to give the impression that I just popped up and like did this and it was so easy and I'm so new to all this and I am in a way still very new to this. I'm still learning and I'm always going to be learning. But like I started in bikini. Like I've been watching this for a while. Like I did bikini so long ago that like we did the fit model like poses. Like we did the cute little janky like hit back. Like that was our front pose. Like I have photos of me doing that. Like I wasn't privy to all the like ins and outs of the sport, but like I started there, like I did it. And it's super cool. Like little me back then would be like over the moon right now. She'd be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you did that." Like she would think I was the coolest person ever. And really that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and then the body dysmorphia kicks in where you talk to yourself currently, and then you'll be like, God, I don't feel. That's the one thing that just I understand 100%, but it still shocks me that like I've talked to Olympians that literally hate themselves, like they
Yeah.
hate their body, and you're just like, do you look in the mirror, but then you just don't. Again, I get this 100% how it works, but it doesn't mean that I don't think it's just the most fascinating thing that like the most in shape people on the planet that have like 0% body fat look at themselves and find flaws.
And that is why honestly they are as successful as they are though, to be just frank about it. But I 100% get it because I've asked that question to big names in the sport even before I got to where I currently am. I was like, when do you stop and like appreciate when do you stop like looking in the mirror thinking like, oh, this could be better? Like when are you just like satisfied? And the answer to that is never.
It's literally like
Never.
asking an alcoholic when you're gonna stop drinking. Like it's just yeah.
Never. But that's also what makes some of these people so successful and makes people always there's always another goal that you just kind of have to have a happy medium. And I'm still also learning that myself of when do you stop and appreciate and just be like, hey, like I'm really proud of like what I've done. I can do better, but when do you stop and kind of give yourself some props and be like, hey, like you are way further leaps and bounds than you thought you ever were going to be. Like it's okay to pat yourself on the back a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned before that you don't really care that much for the opinions of others, and I just want to know first off how, because I mean, just being a person myself where I don't care as much as I do, but like I still care deep down. Like if people like stuff or I
Oh
think
yeah.
it's great if they don't like it. Like it's human nature. So how have you developed that? And is there any trick or tip that you have for people to make them maybe care less about what people think? Because that is a superpower in my opinion. If you have that in you to just be like,
Yes.
I don't care what other people think, that is so rare, and I wish everyone had that.
Yeah. And like I'm not gonna say every little comment like just flies off my shoulder. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't hurt my feelings a little bit. But I think also what I have to tell myself when I get like icky comments or I get something they don't like about me, whether it's physical, mental, whatever, uh, just kind of thinking about where that comment came from and who it came from per se. Like, because I don't like to talk shit on people either. Like some of these people, but most of the time, yes, these comments are coming from people that look a certain way or are in a certain place in their life. And I'm like, you know what? Like that opinion really doesn't matter. And then the other caveat of that is at the end of the day, like I know those icky comments are coming from a place of how they feel about themselves. Right? It's kind of like all those cheesy stuff that you see on social media, like, hey, like another millionaire is going to talk shit on another millionaire, right?
I mean, nothing
Like,
pisses me off more when millionaires like start GoFundMe's and it's like, dude, like rich actors too, and you're like, dude, you're worth $500 million and you're gonna try to ask for
yeah.
donations. That's the
That's
only
how they
time that
became
it
a
pisses me off.
millionaire.
Yeah, that's the only. I know that's okay. So I have a family relative that is in Omaha and she does catering, and she said that like she's catered for Musk, Bill Gates, and Warren Buffett because Warren Buffett lives in Omaha, so they had like
Oh,
things
that's
together.
so
They
cool.
said they are the three biggest cheapskates you'll ever meet in your entire life.
Absolutely.
They tip like 1%. She said it's ridiculous.
That is sad, though.
Yeah,
That is sad to hear that. Like,
yeah,
give money back to the industries too,
yeah.
where you can, if you can. If I had money like that, absolutely I would. But I mean, at the end of the day, too, like nasty comments, like I can tell you anytime I've also caught myself being nasty, it's because something struck a chord and that like stung me a little bit for some reason, right? Like something triggered me, something hit a nerve where I was like, ooh, like that's a very sensitive thing to me. And so it's really just about how I feel about myself is why I'm making those comments. Um, there's always exceptions to everything. Some people are just bad people. There are people in this world that are just nasty individuals, but I guarantee you that person's a nasty person because they feel ill about themselves. And so they're projecting that onto you, and there's no reason you need to take that in and be like, "Oh, like that's who I am." That has everything to do with who they are and how they feel about themselves. And it's not you.
You'll find quite a few of them in the bodybuilding fandom. I'll just leave it at that. So you'll get used to that and you'll realize that. But unfortunately, that's part of it. But again, there are so many great people there too as well that just
There
genuinely love and
is.
appreciate the sport. Just like everything in life, you're gonna have the good and the bad, and that's just
Yeah, and,
what you gotta
like,
take with it.
the bad makes the good look extra stinking good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, the bad apples make the good apples look so, so good, and
Why
I'm
do you think with
grateful
it?
for that.
Why do you think everyone loves the? Why do you think I'm like one of the only few podcasts that everyone goes back to? Because I'm not even I'm like okay, but like just because a lot of other ones might be shitty, then everyone just wants to come back. So it's like that just goes to show you that like just be a kind person to people, and it's not hard.
Yes,
You
yes.
can be a POS behind the scenes, but just be I'm not a POS behind the scenes, everyone, but I'm just saying like you find out about some of these talk show hosts that are like really like
Uh-huh.
scumbags deep down, but it's like don't be like that. But it's like as long as you even have a facade, just be yeah again, but
Yes.
just be a
Like, I
good
just talked
person.
about that yesterday with a girlfriend because we had, like, a little girls' night, and I think that's really just, like, the overarching theme of life, not to be, like, a therapist right now. But, like, that's also my biggest goal in life. I was like, I don't care. It's so lovely to be like, she's an IFBB pro, like, blah, 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 pro bodybuilder. At the end of the day, though, like, I really want people to think or at least feel that, like, I'm a kind person. Like, I don't want people to leave my interactions and be like, hey, like, I feel like I got nothing out of that. Like, she's this kind of person. And I know that's still all a matter of opinion, but I want to leave people better than when I found them.
Mhm.
Like, I don't want to die and people be like, oh, all she offered this world was the fact that she was a pro bodybuilder. Maybe she did things for the sport. Like, that's awesome. That's great. Like, or she had this career. But usually people don't talk about that when you die, right? Like, it's, she lit up a room and like, I know that's overdone.
I know. I was literally about to say that people, especially the ones close to you, they're not going to say like, "Oh, she's on people." They're going to talk about how you made them feel and how you changed their lives and how they interacted with
Correct.
you. So, and that's the most important ones. If you're judging your other people's opinions who are never going to meet you, I get that it's a human thing to want to be liked and loved, especially people in the entertainment business, especially people that do podcasts. That's why we present ourselves to each other because we want to get approval. Because a lot of times I'm a middle child, so that should explain enough as it is why why I try to get more other people's
Yes.
approval. Not dissing my parents at all; they were incredible parents, but just like it's yeah, it just comes with it. But yeah, you got to judge the people that, or you got to judge other. If you're going to judge anyone's opinion, judge it on people that you interact with and actually respect and care about.
Correct. And like, it's so nice to be loved and appreciated. And like, part of that double side coin too is like, you do have to be authentic to who you are. And like, I think it's so nice to just kind of be who you are and then find the people that love those things about you, and then to be loved for those reasons is so special. And that's like really what the overarching theme of life is, right? Find the people that resonate with who you are, have the same core values, morals, whatever, and you guys have a great time together. Like, that's really all this stuff is about, right? Like, you can make yourself into this person that all these people are going to love. And like, if you do have a big group of people that love you, that's awesome, but just be authentic to what you love, whether that's your hobbies or what have you. Like, if you love it, I guarantee you're going to find the right people that also love it or love you and your love for that. That's it. Like, you don't have to pretend to like any of this stuff, or like, if you don't like someone's opinion, that's cool. You don't need to be friends with that person. Like, it's just that's the way life is. I don't, quite frankly, want to be liked by everybody. If you don't like the way I have an opinion about something, that's fine.
I honestly think that would be one of the worst fates ever is to be liked by everyone. Like if you were liked by everyone, that would be so annoying and it would get so old that I do think about it. But I
Mhm.
gotta tell everyone, remember, we are just evolved apes on a floating rock in the middle of space. So
Right? Like, how serious is all this, right?
honestly, yeah. There's a there's a
Not to, like,
there's 100 billion galaxies.
be
There's a
negative.
100 billion galaxies, and there's 100 billion solar systems in said 100 billion galaxies. So it's like, guys, come on now. Like,
Yeah,
enjoy
like,
the
just
ride.
do whatever you
I
want.
always bring up the fact of if you really realize how lucky you are to be alive, that there's what, like billions of sperm and you were the one that found the egg out of the billions, like you literally won the lottery, every person that's alive. So enjoy it.
Yeah, and, like, yes, life is, like, insufferably long, but it's also, like, painfully short at the same time. So, like, it's really too dang short to worry about, "Oh, that one girl didn't like me," or "That one guy, that one relationship didn't work out. Oh, that one career path didn't work out." You can try a million different things. There's so many different options. Nobody told you you had to do any of that. Like, you can quite literally do whatever you want, and I think that's debilitating and freeing at the same time.
Whenever I think about that, like when I'm making a big career choice or doing something, I always remember when you talk to old people that are about to die, some of their biggest regrets are I didn't go with what I wanted to do. I didn't follow my gut. I didn't pursue my passions. And then you just realize that, like, yeah, you don't want to be that. So I'm happy for that. But now that we got our life as existential part of the podcast, out of the way, um, do,
Okay.
no, we tangent all the time on this thing. Are you kidding me? Especially you're a good talker too. So like I told you, she needs to start her own podcast. But have you found that how early into after this prep has your strength been coming back?
It took so honestly, like, the first couple weeks, it got worse. And I was pretty bummed, I'm not gonna lie, because I saw everybody else talking about it, and like, "Oh," especially, like, at least men. I think women, like, we were kinda quiet, but all the men were like, "My strength went up 100% in the gym right after." I was like, "Oh, like, I'm actually lifting a little less than, like, what I kind of thought I would be at, to be honest." And so that was a little disappointing. But I would say right now, like, now we're on the up-ups. Like, I would say every week now at this point, like, I'm trying new weight out and I'm hitting my rep range that I should be hitting with new weight. Like, now we're, like, cruising right along, like, my body's a little more comfortable, but, like, the first 2, 3 weeks, I wanna say, like, I know we're only probably, what, 5, 6 weeks now? Maybe 7? I don't know, time flies. But that first, like, 2 or 3 weeks, I was kinda disappointed. I was like, I know I still look really cool, but, like, where's the strength? Where's the strength? Like, when do you find the happy medium? Because that's what I love about this is the training, and if I can't train, then, like, what's the point?
No, I get it. Is there been an object like non-weight related that you've lifted or picked up that you were shocked by? Because I had one moment where I was lifting a shelf that I never thought I could when I was really strong. But has there ever been like an object that like you were just shocked by because of your lifestyle that you were able to do that you would never think that you could?
Hmm, not recent, I would say. Like, the last time I've had to move some stuff was, like, when I moved here, and I would say, like, I have long limbs, you know? And they are kinda lanky, like, limbs, just put on, like, a little center thing. It's kinda like when you have marshmallows, you, like, stuck the spaghettis in it and, like, made little people and stuff, like, that's kinda how I feel. But I lifted, like, my own dryer by myself. But, like, I don't have the wingspan per se, like, even as long as they are, like, to kinda, like, grip that object, but, like, I can lift it for sure. And, like, that's kinda cool. It's kinda cool. But, like, I would say sometimes bodybuilding muscle is a lot of show muscle, not a lot of go muscle, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I can lift some things, but sometimes when they're put in a certain shape, like, I just can't grasp it.
Well, and I
I've
gotta
lifted a keg or 2 at work, which is kinda cool.
remind everyone too that size and genetics do play a factor. Where it's like I'm 6'3", where a lot of people are like, "Oh, some of these guys must be so stronger than you." I was like, some of them could be, but it's like at the end of the day, genetics and height and everything do make somewhat of a difference. Where I mean, I've talked to some where I'm like, "Holy
Yeah.
shit, yeah, if I met you in an alley, you would beat the shit out. You could beat the shit out of me if you want." But then the other ones where you're like, "Okay, you're like 5 feet tall. Like, come on." Like, and again, they aren't like
Precisely.
telling me that you're stronger than me, but it's like you got to remind people it's like you can live in that fantasy where you think that these women are going to like save you and like lift up a car and like
Eh,
rescue you from a burning building, but like just know deep down that's never going to happen. Like it's not
no.
possible. Yeah.
And I get that stuff all the time, especially from just, like, the general public where they're like, don't hurt me, don't fight me." And I was like, "Buddy, I'm, like, 5'5", 150 pounds. Like, I don't know how much damage you really think I'm gonna do." Like, I'm not trying to, like, downplay myself, but I'm not, like
You're not like the
I'm not
mountain.
yeah, I'm not gonna I'm not stupid. Like, I'm still like, if I'm a female by myself at a gas station, like, I'm still looking around, looking at men and being like, ooh, I don't want to be like in a place by myself with a strange man I don't know. Like, I'm still very protective of myself and I don't like walk around thinking, I'm going to handle my own if like a grown man wants to overpower me. Like,
Have you
like I'm
felt that
still a
you have
woman.
have you felt that you have gotten maybe a little bit more confident in that though than maybe you were when you weren't in bodybuilding? Has it added even like a little bit of it where you're obviously you're still going to be like
Yeah.
put your alarms up and everything like that, but has it gotten to a point where you're like I feel a little bit more confident in like maybe if I saw a strange man walking down the street?
Yeah, I think a lot of it too isn't even just size. Like, kind of once you, as a woman, kind of put some muscle on your frame, I think you get some confidence. So I think a lot of it is just how you carry yourself, not necessarily how big you are. Like, I definitely, when I'm by myself, which is more often than not, like, I try my best to not be on my phone. Like, I am making eye contact with people on the street, like, especially men. Like, I'm not making space for them. Like, I'm asserting a dominance of a way. Like, I'm making sure that they know that I see them. Like, it's not like I'm a shy, like,
You're just constantly most
"Ooh,"
muscular and just like walking in, giving them their space.
but like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think as a woman too, no matter how big or small you are, take up some space, like, assert your dominance, like, let men know that you see them, like, "Hey, like, I'm not the one you wanna pick." That's the vibe I try to give off at least, like, just to protect myself, even if mathematically, if it's a big old man, like, I know I'm not gonna overpower him, but I don't want him to get the impression that I am.
Well, this might upset you, but like it took me until college to realize how better I have it in situations like that as a man because I have never once had to worry about like my safety. Well, again, if like you're in a sketchy neighborhood, that's a whole different, story. But like I go on walks at night in a like a forested area and I've never once, felt the fear of like I mean, I saw if I say deer or something like that, I mean, I still don't fear him. But like if I saw like a bear or anything like that, that's a different story. But like I have never once like, and if there's a guy walking past, I'll be like, oh, there's a guy walking past. Like I don't have that. So when I learned that in college, like, oh my god, women actually like have to like worry about their safety at all those times. We're like, yeah, like you said, filling up gas. If I saw another guy, wouldn't even cross my mind. I'd just be like, oh, there's a guy there. Cool.
Yeah, no, we just had this conversation yesterday, like, with my
Yeah.
girlfriends, like, it's a constant thing, and I don't know what age it even starts, like, I still feel it every single day when I go somewhere, like, I don't if I'm by myself most of the time, like, I'm very cognitive of my surroundings. Like, it's just something you're constantly if it's dark outside, I'm not getting my gas at night. I don't ever get gas at night because I am by myself, and I feel like it puts me in a vulnerable spot,
Yeah.
and especially, like, even being smaller, like, off season or in season and off season, like, I'm not carrying around 180 pounds of weight anymore, like, I wear baggy clothes, like, I look smaller. I look like an easier target still, so I'm like, "Oh, yeah, like, I don't I don't wanna be picked." And, I've never had an issue with that, but, I don't want there to be, and I think just women need to be we are naturally usually more cognitive, but some women are just a little more like, "Oh, like, it won't happen to me." I was like, "You say that, but, like, you never know."
That's another reason why you got to get up to 220. If you get up to that weight, no guy's gonna want to ever want to try to
Yeah.
kidnap.
Good luck picking me up, buddy.
She ain't a
That's
lady.
all I
She
have.
ain't a lady if she ain't 280. That's all I'm gonna say.
Hey, if you put that down to 180, I think I could maybe reach that
Yeah.
sometime here. Maybe not this year. Maybe not this off season, but like a couple off seasons, I think we'll get there. Like, but like I would love to be that weight
Yeah.
eventually. I just don't want it to look how it's looked.
What do you think bodybuilders themselves can do, especially the female bodybuilders can do to help grow the sport? Because I mean, it can be so much bigger than it is, and I think some things have to
Oh
change. But
yeah.
what do you think overall, like female bodybuilders could do to help present a better image of what some people might associate with the sport?
I feel like we have to post more. I know it sucks. It's a lot different when a man in the off season posts versus when we post in the off season. But I feel like we do, and I'm, like, trying to be better at it also, so it's me talking to me also. But, like, we just gotta post all the phases. We gotta post the training, we gotta post all the same stuff that the guys are posting, given I'm not sure even what people really wanna see from us. Maybe it's all the same stuff, I don't know, like food, whatnot, from what I've heard, they do just also like to see your normal life, like just you as a person, which piece of cake, I can do that. But like they want to see like the way you make your cream of rice. And like I feel silly posting stuff like that, but if that's what people want to see, like by all means. And they want to see us like sitting and talking in front of a camera, which is like a little uncomfy for me. But I'm getting better at it and I want to do it. I'm good at talking, but like the idea of me setting my camera up like by myself is still a little
I know.
meh.
It took me a while too for it, and yeah, and I've had times on the segments where a guest was cooking stuff, and I was like, "Hey, since we're talking already, just take us through what you're doing." And they're like, "Yeah, sure." It's happened like 4 or 5 times, but I've noticed on some of your posts that you like to read. What are some of your favorite
I
books?
do. So I like to read either like crime, like mystery, like ooh, or sometimes I'll have a little like lovey-dovey like relationship book. I don't read those quite as often, but I do read a lot of like horror thriller type stuff. It doesn't have to be like Stephen King like S because some of his stuff is good, some of it's not so much.
His
But
endings,
like
his endings are horrible. Let's be honest. He's never had a
but
good
like he's
ending.
not the end all be all,
Yeah.
but he's like a very more mainstream one that people know. I every time I go to a bookstore, I feel like I'm in there for like 2 hours, just like reading the backs of books, and then I give up, and I'm like, "Just pick out 5, and we're just gonna go through them." And that's the lovely thing about, like, TikTok, like, you can see people give little quick reviews because sometimes my attention span's like 60 seconds, and just telling me, "Hey, these are good ones." I'm like, "Screw it, I'm just gonna get some of those." But usually it's that kind of stuff, like thriller. I would read a lot more in the summer because I like to sit by the pool and, like, read my book outside. I love my grandma aesthetics. In the winter, I don't read as much, but I am trying to like do it more. I did it a lot during cardio. I read a book because I my attention span is better when I'm doing that versus like watching a video.
All right, I'll give you 5 guesses to guess what my favorite genre of books is, and if you guess it, I'll give you something. I haven't even thought of it yet, but you'll be my favorite guess too. So I'll give you five
Genre.
guesses because I don't think there's any way that you'll ever guess it. But go ahead.
You said genre.
Yeah,
Hmm. There's a lot of weird niche
that's why. Oh, I can give you
genres.
more than 5, but we could do this for 10 hours, and I don't think you'd guess it.
You don't seem like a romance guy, so it's not gonna be romance.
I've
Maybe
read
like
a few of them, and they're okay, but yeah, it's definitely not my thing.
yeah, like Western.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
Mm, you into like biographies?
That's not the answer, but yeah, I enjoy a good biography.
Hmm. Maybe like sci-fi. I feel like it's gotta be a weird combination of, like, some of these
You're
stereotypical
getting
ones.
warmer, but no.
It's gotta be like like, biography of, like, sci-fi guys, like, something, like, very specific.
It involves history. I'll give you that.
Mhm.
I'll
Like, the
just
mo
say,
my
you'll
my
never get
least
it. I'll say you
knowledgeable
never get it. Alternate history. I love alternate history where people write about like if stuff had happened this way, like what would happen. I love that stuff.
so, like, almost conspiracy.
Not real. Well, not really. Like some of them are like really stupid. Like one of them's were like, what if guys with AK-47s went back to the Civil War and like gave the South
You know,
AK-40, just stuff like that. And then like
I can get behind that.
other ones like, what if the Japanese did better at Pearl Harbor, and just stuff like that is really incredible. Or like, what if Hitler was killed in the Valkyrie attack? Like the stuff like that is incredible to me. Where I'll read that all day long. But yeah, that's my genre right there. But yeah, again, she would have never guessed that. So that's I should have never
No,
brought that up. That should be like a thing where I should have made someone have to guess that, like a Rumpelstiltskin thing, where it's like I'll give you like five
it's
days, and I don't
very
think you would ever
interesting, though, like,
would get it.
I would 100% like I didn't even know books like that really existed.
Yep. There's a guy, Harry Turtledove. He wrote 12 books, a whole series on if the South had won the Civil War, and it goes all the way up to World War II. So it's a whole 80-year difference of what the U.S. and the Confederates would look like. It's incredible, and it took me forever to read it. And each book is like 500 pages, and it's 12. It's incredible.
I can get behind that, though, like, I can 100% understand the thought process of being like, "That's really cool." Like, I would read
Yeah.
1 or 2, like, why not? Like,
Well, you don't read the other ones. Like that guy also wrote one where it's like, what if aliens invaded during World War II and the world had to team up and fight aliens? It's
but what if?
I know, but he makes them into like little 3 foot tall lizards though. So it's like you got to come up with better aliens, dude. But like it's
Some of 'em are probably far-fetched,
yeah,
but
but
I
it's
get
a good
it.
idea. No, yeah, I tried to do something like that myself, but I just don't have the writing bug. I mean, I could write, but I really just yeah. really just don't want to. But yeah, and I mean, I agree. They do have to self promote themselves more for the sport, and I do think it needs to be brought out there, and just honesty, like what we talked about. If you're just a little bit more honest people in general, and honestly, you don't have to you don't have to just like shout it to the world and stuff like that. But like if people ask,
No.
and if you're not comfortable answering questions, that's 100%. I totally understand that. I totally
Yeah.
get that. But if you have the means and you want to, it's like, yeah, definitely let people know, because I think the more this is out, because like the more secrets are kept about this sport, the more people are going to be turned off by it, because they're going to be like, oh, these people are just doing this deep down, and they're
Yes.
lying to us, and they're telling us all this other stuff. And the fake natties, don't even get me started. That's I just don't. Again, happy birthday. We're recording this on Michael Hearn's birthday, so happy birthday, Mike, the most natural person that's ever lived. So I'll just bring that out there. Speaking of
You do
that,
have
but
to I think a lot of it too is just being authentic. I think we've seen the same regurgitated content over and over and over again. We're all doing the same stuff, which some of it works, some of it just isn't authentic. And I think that's kind of because I've been paying attention kind of what captions, I guess, because I'm still working on like the whole Instagram thing. Like what captions are what people want to see, what gets people's attention. And like I'm not one to always I'm a yapper though. So like I could yap quite a bit on like a section or two. But like what are people wanting? Do people even read these? And I am seeing more and more that people do read captions as long as they're not like 10 pages long. But like I enjoy reading them. So I was like, I want to get better at like making some captions that show more of the way I think, because I do think that's what sets you apart. And so just kind of being more authentic to yourself too, not always feeling you have to talk about everything that everyone else talks about. If you feel like you want to talk about it, talk about it.
and if you
Someone will like it.
and if you run out of ideas, just record yourself the next time you have a shoulder pump, and that should be fine.
You do kind of have to balance it. Like,
That's the
how
thing.
often do you
I know
post
people. Yeah, I know people that do like the posing all the time, but then it's like, then if you don't do it, then no one's gonna watch it then, because they're just so used to it.
precisely? Like, you kind of have to like do a little happy medium, like, because I'm also figuring that out. I'm like, how much do I post in my personal life? How much do I post at the gym? I don't want to post just at the gym. I don't want to post just my personal life. Like, so you just kind of have to figure it out to kind of see what sticks. But that's the beauty of social media. There's no rules.
Yep.
But like being different, like I kind of shied away from being different for so long, and there's just I think that's what makes you stand out.
Yeah.
So like why do we shy away from it? So like I just want to post stuff that I feel like I want to post, given I don't know if that
I'm just
is.
gonna quick adjust my stuff, because it's like right in my eye. We got it. We got like 10 minutes left, but I just want to get it adjusted real quick.
Yeah.
There we go. All right.
But a
All right.
lot of that is just I do think we're just so hypercritical of ourselves, and really, I don't think you always have to post the most curated content. I like seeing people's personalities, people being silly and like within reason, obviously. Like some of it's so goofy that I'm like, ugh, cringy. But I get it. Like sometimes that's like paid sponsorships for you or what have you.
Yeah.
But there's so much you can just like post and try. You never know who it's going to resonate with. And you never know who might be like, you know what, that's really fun and cool. Like, never thought of that. Hey, I really like this kind of stuff. Like, like maybe I want to start posting stuff like that, or I want to like try something that you posted, or I don't know. Like, there's really no rules. And like, sometimes that's very freeing, but also like scary.
So that guys out here know, but like at what point when a guy compliments your physique, at what point for you does it turn like weird? So that guys, if they're listening to us, know that like, hey, maybe I don't go take it to that level. Like at what point are you like, okay, this is weird? Like obviously someone says like, oh my god, your like shoulders or arms look incredible. It's not really offensive, but like at what point
No.
to you does it become like, okay, this is too much?
I think when it kind of goes down the road of like it's sexual,
Yeah.
I think is when it starts kind of being like a little ugh. There is a certain I like when there's a certain level of respect with it, and you can always tell. Sometimes it's just like the tone and delivery of compliments, but there's nothing wrong with
You don't go up to her and be like, oh
compliments.
my god, your arms and shoulders look so good,
Yeah,
Haley.
like that's ew, gross. Like, but like if there's usually, most people are very respectful about it, where they're just like, hey, like they acknowledge the work it took to get there. Like that's really cool. Like, that's awesome. Fine and dandy. It's when it's like gross, where it's like, so like,
Can
do
I
you
t-
want to
can I
send
t-
me some
can I
stuff?
touch those arms, Haley? Oh my
Yeah,
god.
like no, never. Or like, I had weird guys at the gym, like, ask why I do wear what I wear to the gym, like, "Why are you covered up like that?" Like, as if it's they're entitled to it because
We
it's
want
already
to
on
see
social
your
media.
hard work, Haley. Come on.
Yeah. Or, like, they act like just because it's posted already on social media that I have to flaunt it at the gym too, like, I don't, like, there's no I get to pick and choose, this is my body, like, I'm not here to have you stare at it. But
Do you,
as a woman, if you don't care, you don't care.
are there ever times that you sometimes just feel like a I know some people that they've talked to me were like, sometimes I just feel like a trained monkey, honestly. We're like, it's just like
Mhm.
flex, monkey, flex, basically, and that's it. Do you ever feel like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and, like, I think too, like, that's the beauty of wearing what I wear to the gym too,
Yeah.
like, a lot of people didn't even know I was competing this year. People didn't know, especially because I moved here, like, a lot of people just didn't know me, like, I've always worn that stuff there. So then when I stepped on stage, like, the gym that I train at, like, had posted about me, and I had people, like, now start coming up to me saying, like, "Hey, like, I saw you, like, congratulations, like, I realized that's you," because they don't typically see like, I do have some, like, tattoos, if I wear a t-shirt, they can kinda tell, but, like, there is this it's cool, but, like, at the same time, like, I've always just been kinda to myself. I've never done it for especially not for men, to come up and be like, "Oh, that's really attractive." Like, I don't care if you think it's attractive, like, I like it.
Wait a minute, you're telling me that all these women don't do it for me personally? That's what I've always thought.
I
I thought it was all
know, it's
just for me.
criminal. It's criminal, and that's genuinely what some of these men think, like, everything boils down to what men think is attractive, and to a degree it is because straight women don't lie. Like, I know a lot of what we do, a good chunk of what we do is like, hey, like, I think this is gonna a partner that I want is gonna think that's attractive.
Can I tell you though how much that pisses me off now that I have a fiance and she still does that? And I was like, why are you? I think it's just because in the girl's DNA, that's like, even if they're hitched up or anything like that, they're like, I just still want to look good for people and stuff. And I have no problem with her looking good, but
It's
like,
a woman thing.
I know, but like, even the still, I'm like, dude, you're going to a business meeting. Like, you don't have to be like dressed to the nines and everything like that. But I get, again, I get it. I just make jokes about it too, where I've always made the
You do
joke.
get,
Yeah,
as a woman, treated a certain way, though, based on how you present
absolutely.
yourself, right?
Absolutely.
So, like, the woman who has her hair done that day, makeup, like, I get treated better when I look a certain way and when I present myself in a certain way.
I'm comfortable looking
So,
like this on camera, everyone. So that just goes to show you the difference in what we're working with here, everyone. So this is the biggest difference between man and woman right here is that I'm comfortable presenting myself like this to be viewed by tens of
yeah.
thousands of people. So yeah,
Yeah, and there's just like society, there's just different standards too.
yeah.
Like some days I don't care, absolutely, but like some days, like I do want to present myself in a certain way. It makes me feel a certain way too. Like I feel like you notice too, as a woman specifically, you act and carry yourself in a certain way when you look a certain way, right? You get more confidence sometimes if you're wearing the makeup, your hair's done, like, and to me, like, that alone is very much worth it. As a woman, if you feel confident and like you can present yourself as the best version of yourself looking X way, by all means do that. If that is filler, Botox, whatever, do that because that's the best version of you.
Do you think that they should maybe do like more female gyms or like women only gyms for like confidence for women? Because I thought that like because I'm gonna be honest. When I started in the gym, I was nervous enough as it is, and like scared enough as it is, and I'm like a 6 foot 3 guy in college, and I couldn't imagine what it'd be like for a woman. So I don't know, because I think that's one big thing that attracts women. It's gotten better, but I think it still is that like they're just afraid of the guys in the gym or just like that whole culture. So what do you think can be done to maybe help that?
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with having an all women's gym. I remember, and given I started when I was young, so like there was also just like, ooh, guys are scary because they're like older and like bigger than me.
Yeah.
But I remember there's like a free weight section of the gym and there's a like machine heavy focus side of the gym. And they were on like opposite sides. Like you had to walk to the other side to get to the free weights. And I didn't go over there because that was like the big guy side of the gym. I was like, ooh, that's scary. Like I don't know how to use this stuff. I don't want to look silly. And I think just for that alone, having like female only gyms would be nice. Eh, I don't think they're necessary by any means. I'm
Well,
used
yeah.
at this point being the only woman in some gyms sometimes, and it does not bother me at all. Like I'm gonna walk right up to that dumbbell section, take what I want, and like I'm gonna ask you if you're using it. Like I need to use it. But like that doesn't you don't start that way 9 out of 10 times. And I think having female only gyms for that reason is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes there's like a room at certain gyms for girls only, I think.
I think it'd be like a good startup thing where it's like, yeah, you spend a couple of months in that gym before like you transition to like an actual
Yeah.
gym. I don't know, because yeah, like again, like if you're just like bodybuilders, yeah, you guys have been in so many gyms for so long that like people know you and they're not, you're a part of the family basically once you get to that level. So it's not
Yeah.
bad enough. But yeah, I think for beginners, just because, and I know how much this is not it. I'm not against women, but I know how much women worry. So that's, if you can do
You do,
anything
and
to
it's a
delay it.
safety thing
Like,
too for some
absolutely, that's why
women.
too. Yeah, I understand that 100%.
Like, it's scary just to be around men you don't know. Like, you also just add the aspect, like I said, you don't know what you're doing, so you feel out of place already. So, like, it's just not comfy. And then add in the whole, okay, well, maybe I'm also wearing a tank top and shorts. Like, now I'm extra uncomfortable
Yeah,
because people are looking at me. I don't like. It's just a lot of things that is overstimulating. And so,
you got to wear your Gymshark
sure,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. I was like, maybe sure, like you could go with the whole suck it up and eventually it'll be fine. And yeah, but there's nothing wrong with having stuff for women,
Yeah.
like I think as a startup thing, I'm sure there could be a lot of money too, like female only gyms.
That's honestly why though I have been overly nice to guests, because I know how, like, especially just I'm just some random guy messaging him like, hey, do you want to be on a podcast and talk about your fitness journey? That's why I've been overly nice to, because I know like how scary. But luckily, I have one of those personalities where 5 seconds into talking to me, like all of your threat levels go down to like zero. You're like, if this guy jumped me, it would be the most
It's a
hilarious
great
thing
quality.
ever. I know it's a great quality. Like, I'm the guy that if you met in a dark alley, the moment I open my mouth, I've had it at times too, where like women are walking outside the street, I'll go out of my way just to like say something to them, just to like make them be at ease, and I'll be like, "Oh my god, you look great," or something. And I'll say it in. I have a gay voice that I'll bring out. I'm not gay, everyone, but I'll just do it just for their own safety, so that and just to see their body just like drop, because like they're all tensed up, like walking in the big.
Yes.
Oh my god, thank God! And then that's one of my favorite reactions out there. They'll be like, "Oh my god, you look so great." I'll just say something like that, but
Yes. And
yeah,
like I'm at the point though where I'm like a little sassy. Like depending on what day it is, like I'll let men know that you're in my space. And I feel like it puts them back. Like I did it 2 days ago. Like I was at Walmart, like the little self checkouts, and I'm sure he was going around me to go to the next guy in front of me to check out his, but then he realized I was so close to finishing. He's like, "Oh, well, I'm just gonna wait for her." And so I didn't have my bags picked up yet. He's already putting his stuff on the thing. And to give you context, like he was a probably 6'5", like 300+ pound man. And he was also like middle aged, 40, 50, I had to assume. And sure, he smiled at me, whatever, but he was already in my space. And so I grabbed my stuff. And before I walked out, I was like, hey, that was really disrespectful that you had to be in my space. And I said it in a stern voice. Like I didn't stay to linger and have a conversation, but I said my thing and I walked away. And I could tell he kind of like started saying something. I was like, I don't even care to hear what you're going to say, but you were in my space. And as a female, like, it's very disrespectful that you didn't even think, hey, maybe someone wouldn't appreciate this. Like, just even without the gender thing being a point in it, right?
I mean, as an upper Midwesterner, that's my worst nightmare, is to like have to do that. Like, it shocks me when I've traveled to like other states and other areas where like you're just not so polite to people, that like you have a guy that would put his stuff on that. Like, to me, that would be like a moment where I would
Yeah.
just be like thinking to myself like, what the hell am I doing? So it's crazy. But yeah, there are people like that out there, and it's a
Yeah.
shame,
Or
but
like, I told that to one of my girlfriends like a couple days ago, and she said the same thing. Like, I was, in the aisle of the grocery store, and a man, while she was by herself, also like a man that was by himself, wanted to look at something around her. He's like, "You don't have to move, sweetie." Like, blah, blah, blah. You know what? Yes, I do, because you're in my space. Like, who said it was okay for you to be in my space like that? Like, I know maybe it sounds like I'm making something out of nothing, but like, I don't like that strange men are very comfortable with women who are alone or by ourselves. Like, it's not okay for you to do stuff like that.
here's how you do this, people. You go up to her and you say, "Excuse me, I'm looking for something right over there. Would you mind just moving for 1 second while I go over and
Yeah, or
reach
just
that?"
say, "Excuse me,"
Yeah,
like, "Pardon me."
yeah. Excuse me.
Like,
It's
the
not. It's
fact
not
that you gotta
hard.
make a creepy comment or just encroach in my space, like, I know you wouldn't have done that to a man, I guarantee you.
Hey, you never know. Excuse
Maybe.
me,
You
sweetie.
know
Can
what
I
I
get a
mean,
reach around?
though?
No,
Like, they're
I get what
not
you're saying.
gonna
I get what you're saying, though.
if it was a man at that self-checkout still checking out, I don't think he would have started automatically putting his stuff there, because that's a man. But because I'm a woman, you automatically think it's okay to be in my space, like, it's not. And I feel like some men are just very comfortable not getting comments, and guess what? On the right day, Imma say something.
Well, and here's the solution to that for guys if you want to get out of that. Just look like Brad Pitt. That's honestly that's the only way you can get around that. Then you can do whatever you want. But I mean, like once you get to a
There
certain
is
point,
pretty privilege.
oh, don't even get me started on that. I had
There
so
is pretty
for some
privilege.
reason, up until my fiance, every girl that I thought was super super beautiful and like most people did would consider me a friend. So I would, do friend stuff with them with other people too. It wasn't just like me and them, but like just seeing how much easier certain scenarios are for them in life would get me so angry. We're like
Yeah, and, like,
just a just
sorry, that's
just
just
a
the way the
I
cookie
know, I know.
crumbles.
Just a simple glance at a person can get you whatever you want if you're like that, where it's like and I'm talking about people who are like they could be models if they wanted to, where you're just like, "Screw you." Like,
Yeah, and that's just unfortunately, that's the way the world
people give you
works.
stuff for free when you're at that level of attractiveness. Like, it's
Mhm.
just not
Beauty is currency.
oh
It
my god,
sure is.
don't
And,
even get
like,
me
that's
started.
just the way the cookie crumbles, and, like, I'm not girls, get your bag, like, or men.
I tell people though, people that aren't like that, those are the ones that have the real character there because they got to earn it. So they actually got to. Those are the people because, like, let's be honest, once you get like 50 and your looks start to fade and everything like that, it's the people aren't going to really care about you that much just
Yeah,
because you're
it's
just
got a time limit for
full of.
sure.
That's why you see all these actors just all of a sudden pumping themselves full of so many plastic surgery. Have
It's
okay,
got an
so
expiration date.
we talked about implants. And I don't know if we want to get too personal. Have you ever thought about that or considered them, or are you always just like, hey, I don't want to even touch that?
Heavily have thought about them. Like, definitely it's so prominent in the sport too, like, why not? Now, I was thinking about getting them, like, fairly early in my career, but I am now kind of taking a back seat and be like, you know what? Let's just see how our physique looks for a year or two without, and just kind of being a little slow about it. But I was kind of trying to jump the gun a little. I was like, "Ah, let's go get some implants. Like, let's really like do this up." And now I'm kind of segueing into more of a let's just see if our physique even needs it. Because if it hinders me in the sport, well, that sucks. Like, that's not what I want to do. But for sure, at least when I'm done bodybuilding, like at least at a competitive level, like I'm still gonna take care of myself, but I for sure would want them just for real life, casual life. Nothing like Dolly Parton, but like
Yeah.
something would be fun. Like,
Here's what pisses me off though is if they told you that like, oh, you're not aesthetic enough, like you need implants. That's not bodybuilding though, because it's something that's unnatural that you're putting. Like, I don't understand how that's a precursor for your look. Because if it's bodybuilding, and anyone can get a boob job, anyone can get a butt lift, anyone can do all that stuff. Like that doesn't require work or anything like that, and it's not naturally in the body. And then everyone can always say, "Oh, drugs aren't," but that's different. You still got to put the work in. But like, you don't have to put work in for it to get. I just don't understand how some people think that like, and
correct.
again, I'm a man, so my opinion doesn't matter. But like, you can tell that you're not like that they're fake. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like so for me, it's like if you have like a super veiny chest and then you just have like balloons basically, then that you can see it's like that to me, I don't get that. Again, I have nothing against people that do that, but me personally, I'm just thinking like I don't really think that adds much to your look. And for if the judges
No,
think it does, then more power to you.
it's distracting
Yeah.
sometimes. And that's kind of what
Especially
put
the
me
ones
off
where
of
like
it.
they get like a six pack in their chest because it stands out where then it looks like you have like a six pack and you're just like what? Hey, it's a party trick.
Yeah. And I was like, I love the unnatural look when it comes to a lot of things. Implants are kind of where I'm like a little gray just because I still would want them to look. I'm sure it's okay with them knowing they're fake. That's fine. People are going to know they're fake. I don't want them to be like, ooh, fake, like where I get lean and they suction cup around. Like, I don't like that look. I would rather have nothing if that's going to be the look it gives me.
Well, lastly, here's a scary scenario that I want to point up to you. Let's say in 10 years, plastic surgery gets so good that you can just have implants to make you look like a bodybuilder.
Mhm. I just don't think
It,
we'll get there.
I don't know. You never know with technology these days. That would be, first of all, it'd be hilarious because, like, if I could, like, just look like Jay Cutler just from getting a few nips and, like, and obviously they wouldn't be able to useful. They'd just be like gelatin or something like that and they might look like that. But, like, I don't know. I hope that doesn't happen. But, like, then you see all these synthol idiots too that then their arms get to be like the size, like, that big. And then you're just like, dude, your arm's going to blow up. So,
It'll never, I don't think they'll ever be able to create something that will be able to contract
or better
and
yet, they no,
everything that
actually though,
looks.
those muscle suits if they get way too good though.
And, like, there is, like, bicep implants, like, there's certain body parts where I'm like, "Yeah, maybe," but, like, you then what about vascularity? Like,
Draw 'em
then
in.
when you what about when you pose? Like, how are you gonna make them look different if it's an implant? Like, it's very complex, actually. So it'd be fascinating if they could even come close. But I think that's also what the big appeal of bodybuilding is because you can't buy it. No matter how you cut it here, you can buy implants, you can buy BBLs, you can't buy muscle tissue.
Yet, and I'm waiting for the day that happens. No, I'm joking, everyone.
Yeah,
But
you
no,
can buy
again,
things that get you muscle tissue, but you can't just straight up buy the muscle tissue and the
yeah,
work it takes to get there, which is what's the coolest part about it, I think.
absolutely. Well, and again, I mean, Haley, I'm gonna be honest. Going to this podcast, I had like one question that I was planning on asking you, and then I was like, I knew that we were just gonna, let it fly. And you're one of those guests where I really don't have to prepare anything for. Just we can talk nonsense for an hour and a half, and we did. And
Mhm.
her honesty, everyone, like I said, go and check her out. If there's anyone that I'm ever gonna plug, it's gonna be her. Just and again, I understand why people aren't honest about
Sweetheart,
stuff,
big
but
shit.
just absolutely yes. I don't know. No, but I appreciate that, and I appreciate that you wanted to come back on really quick, and yeah, anytime you want to come on, you're always one of those. You could message me the night before and say, hey, are you free at all tomorrow, and I would find a time
I
for you.
would do
But
that to you.
I've had people that have tried to do that, and the only thing that pisses me off is that
Um,
I sleep in late because I work late. I'll have people who will just go, hey, I wake up at 4, let's message him at 4 o'clock.
no, I try to be very mindful of people's time and like giving people it may be convenient for me, but doesn't mean it's convenient for you. Correct. Correct. And also there's people that have different time zones, time changes. I try to remember that kind of stuff too because I want to be mindful. Like
Yep.
it's respectful that way. No holidays or anything like that either.
Okay, this is another last girly question we're going with.
Okay.
Who is the one guy in the Chiefs roster that you're most attracted to?
Uh, Unfortunately, it's gonna be Travis Kelsey. Unfortunately, it's gonna be Travis Kelsey.
Oh no, the guy with the with the superstar girlfriend and the great looks
Not
and the
even
great.
okay, so not even Travis Kelsey though that's with Taylor Swift. I want the Travis Kelsey that was with that other girl.
Yeah.
I want that Travis Kelsey, okay? And it's not even like how his like physicality is. I just think he carried himself in a different way back then. And maybe he was more like a player, so maybe that's bad. But like now he's kind of I don't know, just a little more soft or a little more vanilla. And I was like, I like him when he had a little spice to him. I like when he had a little more going to him. Like, he still has a lot of personality, but I think that's what I like about him. He's a goofy guy,
Yeah.
like he's not super worried about having like a holier than thou presence. Like he seems very real. I like his little podcast he has with his brother. I think his brother's actually probably the better of the two, like quite frankly.
Yeah, Kylie Kelsey is definitely a catch. I'll give him for that one. She's yeah.
Right? I love Kylie. She's a gem. And like their whole dynamic, that's all I could hope for in life.
Well, lastly, are you watching the game tonight with anyone? Or are you watching it by yourself?
By myself. I'll
Come
watch
on.
little I'm not I'll probably actually do like house stuff while I'm doing it. Hell, I might even like try to go to the gym at the same time so that way I can avoid people. Um,
You don't deserve this success. You don't deserve it.
I know.
People like you
I'm not
piss
a
me off.
Kansas
So
City
I
native.
know. No, I know that's true. Well, yeah, I guess. Okay, so nothing. So my friend went to college in Missouri, and he became a Kansas City fan, and nothing pisses me off more because I was like, dude, you're a Viking. He's like, I like the Vikings first, but the Chiefs second. I was like, no, you can't have two. Like, come on, guy. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Like I love watching football. Like I understand what's going on,
You're from Texas,
but
of
also
course.
but like I'm not gonna like cry if we lose, right? Like it's not gonna ruin my day personally. Will it ruin everyone else's day? Absolutely.
15 years ago, 15 years and 2 days ago, Brett Favre threw the ball against his body in the NFC Championship and cost the Vikings chance to Super Bowl. I went to my room. I had my mom call me in sick the next day for school because I just couldn't come. That's the most upset I've ever been. That's the only time I ever cried over a sporting event. I was a freshman in high school and that was
And
just
I get it.
devastating. Yeah.
I get it. I grew up a little girl though. And I grew up like pretty like Barbie little girl. So like I didn't
Your guys' moment was when that One Direction guy died. That's like the female equivalent, basically. Like if
yeah, I
for
wasn't
people
in
that
the
grew up.
boy
Well, no,
bands.
I know, but like for the younger crowd though too. Yeah, that was. Or when
Yeah,
that one guy
like
left a band, then all of a sudden I was in high school, and all of a sudden every girl was crying by their locker, and I was like, wait, what happened? Like someone died, and they're like, no, so and so left this band, and I was like, oh Jesus Christ.
yeah,
But then
like
again,
that was just I love watching it. I love being here because it is just like a whole different world that everyone is just so into their sports team and like
yeah,
being in the same city as it. so freaking cool. Like, like there's nothing that compares to it, but it does not ruin my day,
Are there
unfortunately.
any other bodybuilders in the area that you get in touch with and train with? Any other female bodybuilders? Because I know there's like Jonquil Baugh
Yeah.
is a huge one that's in there, and I've talked to her so many times.
Yeah, I wouldn't say anybody that's like super on social
Okay.
media, but we do have, I would say at our gym, like we have mostly female pros, not male pros. So it's kind of like a running joke that I have with some of the guys in there. I'm like, so when are you guys gonna like step it up? When are you gonna
That
do
is
it?
how guys get on like 2,000 grams of test is from the taunting from the women. I'll say if you ever want to motivate them, just say stuff like that. And next thing you know, this guy's gonna come in with a neck that's like this big. Then the next day, so
Hey, if that's what it
yeah,
takes, like
yep,
you gotta put but I do think it's harder for these men to be successful than it is for us, just because we're not as saturated in the sport as the male divisions, at least. So I give them props where the props are deserved.
I
But you
will
got to
say
keep them in check.
guys take insults worse, but like we're just trained to not show our emotion as much. But like deep down, it eats at us way more than like it serves as more. Like women, you can show it more and be like a little bit upset about. But guys, you gotta bury it deep down, and then next thing you know, you'll be like yelling at someone 2 years later, and that'll be
Yeah.
the reason for it because you bottled it down. But again, everyone, Haley, it's an absolute delight to talk to you. I'll leave a link to her Instagram page down below. Again, if I don't stop it here, Haley, we're gonna be talking right as soon as the game starts, basically, because this is I could
I
talk to you for like
know.
4 hours.
I
So,
know.
but
It's
again,
okay. I'll make it a semi regular thing. I'll make a list of like topics and I'll
oh
keep
my
us in
god.
track.
Oh my god, yeah, we could definitely do that. But again, everyone, Haley, thank you so much for coming back on. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I love it. Every time I have a
Absolutely.
great time.
Absolutely. Well, again, everyone, this is Ryan Johnson, D on the spot, signing off. Have a great day, everyone.